2011 Lake Street Overlay District Review Team meeting. I'd like to welcome our audience. Ms. Christie, could you call the roll?
Mr. Jimmy Vickers.
Here.
Mr. Dennis Scott.
Here.
Mr. Chris Landry.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porche.
Here.
And Mr. David Connor.
Here.
All present.
All right. At this moment, I'd like to just remind everyone of the voting procedures and explain the meeting. This is a 5-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any requests heard tonight. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and a report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and nature of your request. We'd ask that everyone silence their pagers or cell phones. Item number 3. Take appropriate action on case LD 03-001-11, a request by John Kevin Broussard, care of Jeff Cudla, to vary the roofing materials, to vary the exterior wall materials, to vary the parking lot configuration, and to vary the roof pitch requirement on the property located at 6515 Lake Street in the Lake Street Overlay District in Ward 3. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located near the northeast corner of Lake Street and Goche Road. It encompasses approximately 20 acres of property that is zoned for the Lake Street Overlay District. And just north of this location, the petitioner operates the toy shed, and he has been there for some time. But at this particular site, he would like to construct a building that will have multiple uses. It will be a 3,200 square foot building, and 1,600 square feet of the building will consist of his own office for his personal business, and the remaining 1,600 square feet will be divided into 2 800 square foot spaces that will likely be leased out in the future. And as you said, the petitioner has requested 4 major alternatives. He's requested to vary the roofing materials, which are required to be asphalt shingles, copper, tile, or slate. And he has requested that he be allowed to use Galvalume metal as an alternative material. He also wants to vary the exterior wall materials. He's required to have brick or stucco or hardy plank on all 4 sides of the building, and he has requested that he be allowed to use metal for the north and east sides of the building. And instead of that, he would propose installing a wooden fence to connect to his neighboring property that would screen the north side of the building from being visible from the road. He would also like to vary the parking lot configuration. He's required to have a concrete curb configuration, and instead he would like to manage his stormwater runoff with a subsurface drainage system. Because of this, he feels that he doesn't need the concrete curbs. He would also like to vary the roof pitch requirement. He's required to have a 6-foot on 12-foot roof pitch, and instead of that, he would like to use a brick parapet type roof. And the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that an 8-foot wooden fence be constructed to screen the north building elevation from street view, and that the development must comply with all other requirements of the Lake Street Overlay District or receive a formal approval from this review team.
All right. I guess we need a motion to take them one by one if that's the way they wanted to. I've had a request from Mr. Connor. Is that so? Do we need
I'll do the motion. Yeah,
Right.
and I'm going to do my motion to take them a little bit out of order, but to use these particular requests in the brief, item numbered 1 through 4. So my motion is to move to approve item number 4 to vary the roof pitch requirement with stipulations.
So I have a motion to approve item number 4 with stipulations, and I have a second. Do I have any discussion? And Mr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Ms. Wallace, I just want to make sure I understand. If we approve number 4 and we allow him to build it with the parapet, will we not be able to see number 1? I mean, you won't really be able to see the roof pitch, will we, if we allow him to do this?
That's my understanding, yes. And we do have a building elevation in your packet. It's labeled as A3.0, and I believe you can see the side view where the brick parapet would be in the front, and then the metal would just
So you won't be able
basically,
to see it?
no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, thank you.
So would you be all right with adding, approving number 1 to number 4, since it's galvanlooms, if you know?
Well,
Well,
we
just-
just,
okay.
we just do them in
All right,
order.
so we all-
Do amendments and stuff, so.
Any other discussion on number 4? So we pass amendment number 4.
And who was the second on that? I apologize.
Second, Mr. Porcher.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now does it matter which,
Well, we haven't voted.
do we have any objection?
No, I'm sorry. I'll do
Motion
it different.
passes.
Sorry.
All right, now we go to number 1, to vary the roofing materials. The Lake Street District requires roofs to be constructed with architectural asphalt shingles, standard seam copper, slate, or clay tile. The petitioners requested that he be allowed to use galvalume metal as an alternative material. Any discussion?
Move on item 1 with stipulations.
I have a motion on item 1 to pass.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Item 1 passes. Item number 2, or I guess alternative number 2, to vary the exterior wall materials. The Lake Street District requires that all exterior wall materials be brick, hardy plank, or stucco. The petitioners requested that he be allowed to utilize metal for the north and east sides of the building. He has proposed the installation of a wooden fence to screen the north side of the building from street view. Discussion or motion?
Move on item 2 with stipulations.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Landry.
Yes. Okay, the fence will run parallel with the street?
Yes,
How he's gonna do that?
yes.
I guess it'll be even with the front of the building, or where exactly is it gonna be?
It's kind of tough to see, but it's even with the building on the site and foundation plan A1.0. It's actually shown, and I know it's tough to see, I apologize. But it runs parallel with the street, even to the front of the building.
So if I'm looking at that building from Lake Street, I'm gonna see a brick building, and I'm gonna see a wooden fence,
Right,
and that's it?
right.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Mr.
What
Portia.
is the proposed height of the wooden fence?
He didn't submit a proposed height to us, or maybe he didn't, I just can't read it on here.
It looks like it's 6 foot, from what I can see, which is with the eave height at the rear of the building being 12. Seems like you would be
I
able
believe
to-
he did propose 6 feet, but he's agreeable to 8 foot, if that's what you all would recommend.
The existing fence he has now, that's an 8-foot around his existing property, I believe.
Jeff, is that correct?
I think it's I'm pretty sure that's an 8.
Looks like an 8 foot. I think we have some pictures that show it.
Yeah, Mr. Cutler, if you could come to the microphone, state your name.
Jeff Cudlin. I'm guessing. It looks like 8 though.
I drive by it every day, and I'm pretty sure it's an 8-foot. I would just like to make sure that that fence, because there's so much there, that it is the same fence as it moves across.
We can do that if you want to put a condition in there that it matches the height of the existing adjacent fence.
All
We'd
right.
be happy to do that.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Would you like to add?
Amend to make that an 8-foot fence.
All right. Mr. Landry?
So you have to have a second.
Second.
Mr.
So what we're saying is, what if the existing fence is only 6, we're saying 8, you're gonna rebuild the whole fence, and it's all gonna be 8, is that correct?
Well, we don't want to do that.
I know you might not
It's
want
an
to,
8-foot
but
fence.
That's why I said to maybe just craft the language that we match the height of the existing fence. So if Dennis and I are 2 feet wrong,
but the staff is recommending an 8-foot fence. Are you not?
I personally think an 8-foot fence would be better to hide that metal side. But ultimately, the decision is up to all of you.
I don't wanna see any metal.
we'll go 8. Just put 8 on there and we'll do it.
All right. Mr. Connor has added the amendment to, with the stipulation that the fence be an 8-foot wooden fence to screen the north side of the building from street view. Mr. Vickers, you second that?
I did.
Any other discussion? Any objection? Number 2 passes with the,
Order. What? We're not passing, you're only voting the amendment right now. We gotta go back to the motion. We just vote, if you,
well, I just added it to your motion.
well, you gotta accept the motion and then go back to the amendment has to be accepted, and then you gotta go back to the motion, and we gotta vote on the motion as amended.
Okay. Everybody is all right with the, so do I need to vote on the amendment? Ed, what you want me to do? Vote on the amendment? All right, so do I need a motion on the amendment?
We have a motion.
All right, so we
I
have,
think our problem, Mr. Chairman, is me and you are operating under police jury rules, and they're operating under their rules.
I was trying.
Ours are a little more relaxed. We would just ask the guy that made the motion, hey, you want to change it? Sure, go ahead.
Hey, we know who's chairing the meeting next. All right. Everybody all right with the amendment?
All right.
All right, so we passed the amendment. Everybody, now, we have a motion and a second on the actual number 2 with the amendment.
There you go.
We still have the motion, we still have the second. Any other discussion? Motion passes on number 2, major alternative. Number 3, to vary the parking lot configuration. The Lake Street District requires that all parking lots have a concrete curb configuration. The petitioner has plans to manage stormwater runoff with subsurface drainage, which resulted in the request to eliminate the curb requirement. Discussion.
I'll move on item 3 to vary parking lot configuration.
Second.
I just have one question for you, Mr. Cutler. Where's the water going and how's it getting there, Dan?
Subsurface drain pipes to the DOTD ditch.
So it's all coming to Lake Street from the property. Nothing's going east or south?
No, sir, we're dumping all into the ditch.
All right, so Mr. O'Connor?
If y'all know.
Sorry.
I'm actually very much against this particular variance. I understand probably you're going to want to put, based on your request, you're going to want to put asphalt parking lot with a tapered edge. Is that what you're hoping to do?
Yes.
Okay. You know, we are basically doing some pretty major variations to the to the Lake Street District ordinance as it is right here. And we are doing this probably because you have a very nice looking development and a very nice looking project. It does not, I don't think it undermines the spirit of what the Lake Street Overlay District is about. However, when you start getting to parking lots that are asphalt with cut beveled edges of that nature, then you're talking probably about future broken edges on the parking lot. In the Nelson Road, I keep saying Nelson Road, in the Lake Street District ordinance, curb parking lots are there to prevent that kind of stuff. So whenever commercial development comes, you're looking to, I believe, to keep the whole design of what is already on Lake Street somewhat intact, such as concrete driveways in the homes that run up and down that corridor. So to take and put a asphalt with beveled edge parking is at the front or the side or where that might be, then we're getting a little bit too flexible, I think, on these design requests. So that's my comments on it. I'm very much against this particular request. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to accept or deny number 3?
No, not yet.
Mr. Landry?
Yeah, I was kind of torn on that one. Now you got me thinking, I'm kind of leaning that way now. Obviously, concrete would look better. What is existing in the toy shed area? Is it just shell, or what exactly is there?
Some shell and some asphalt. My client is an asphalt paving contractor. He has a preference.
Yeah, I would imagine.
You can look behind you on it.
I'd probably about kill him to
That's Scott.
lay down some concrete. wouldn't it?
That's Scott.
Okay, yeah. I've gone by there before, but I had a hard time remembering. So where's the shell?
I think
Yes,
once you
okay.
get onto the property.
Oh, okay. I do, well, I have the floor if I may.
Yes.
It's a little bit change of, off the subject, but before I forget, the trees, what's happening to those trees that are there? Are they all gonna remain?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure.
Mr. Connor?
I'm not suggesting that this not be an asphalt parking lot. I'm just talking about
Cleaning the edge up.
the curbs, whatever design, having a, as it's stating it in the ordinance right now, to have a curb, which is basically according to the particular design, so to not vary that specification, not the surface, just the curbs.
Exactly, I understand. When you use the concrete curb and gutter with the asphalt overlaid, it comes off, it's pretty clean looking. And I understand that, the edges of the asphalt, they decay and fall off, and weeds and stuff grow in them. I see exactly where you're coming from. And at some level, I'm a hired agent here. But
Did you secretly agree? I'm kidding.
well, I'll say this before we go on. I'm sitting on the Citizens Committee for the review committee for the UDC, and I really like a lot of what we're doing there with the document. But in this particular situation, I find it pretty interesting that it's a pretty varied neighborhood down there, and at some level to fully comply with these with the overlay requirements is something that on Nelson Road, or one of the cleaner districts, where there's not a lot of existing structures, that I really think it's a good idea over there. But what you've got there is almost a clean slate, so people coming into it understand what they're doing, and the property values will move accordingly. But when we take an existing transitional corridor like this one, it really begs the question, well, if my neighbor's property is going to appraise at this, but I've got to put all the bells and whistles on mine, it's never going to appraise because it's based on the property next door. In working through this process, and I'm real comfortable coming up here and pitching the case, and that's why you guys exist, that we thought asking for something in the middle would be a fair request and be consistent with the hopes and intentions of the document. But that said, however you want to do that, I mean, a fair compromise may be to get the guy to put curb stops in and some kind of landscaping barrier on his parking edges, which would curb stops would keep the cars off of those edges from eroding it. And the landscape would provide some level of screening. And he may, after hearing that, say, oh, well, shoot, I'll just put the concrete in. But just an idea.
Would the concrete curb around the parking change your drainage plan any? Because it looks like this catch basin's here more in the center of the parking, so an edge of concrete, if it's all going to that catch basin,
We might reconfigure it, and to tell you honestly, when I came across this, that particular requirement with the curb, I thought, well, they're just worried about storm runoff or where my water's going to go. Well, if I put in an internal catch basin and drain to it and drain to the ditch, then, well, I've addressed the concern that way differently, but I've still addressed it. But Mr. Connor brings up a whole other point, and that there's more to the restriction than
Aesthetics.
just where's your stormwater going.
Right.
Mr. Connor?
Jeff, I agree with you in principle about how we start making this transition from the kind of neighborhood, but I guess it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking across the street at the crane company or where that might be, and you want to build close to that, I agree. But when you look at the entire Lake Street corridor, not the district, but the entire Lake Street corridor, I think the spirit, from what I'm understanding of the study that brought us to the overlay district rules and regulations, is about taking that entire corridor, which includes the homes that take in the 10 neighborhoods in the area.
Yes.
So it's not just about what you see across the street in commercial development, but it's keeping the value for the residents and starting to improve development so that whole issue applies to them also.
Exactly.
So I think what we're doing here is we're giving you some pretty major flexibility on what the district ordinance says, somewhere in the middle, because you know, this is one of those first developments that come along that has to make the transition, so you're getting a lot there. So it's the perspective of who you want to compare to. Neighborhoods or those businesses that are there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at my adjacent neighbors, but I understand we're asking for the moon here against the ordinance, and appreciate your latitude. And I think we've worked pretty hard to come up with something that meets the intentions of the code, while deviating some. I know I'll bring this up at the UDC meetings that, because basically what I know this is a whole side discussion, but basically the code wants you to build a house. With the pitched roof and the shingle requirements, I mean, that's a wood-framed house. The type of structure my client's looking for and looking for flexibility within it, metal building's the way to go. But if we take the energy to build the metal building to look like a house, we've just given up all the economy that we were trying to gain. And looking at some of these commercial districts, I would think a parapet hiding a low-slope metal roof would be appropriate, because we've taken essentially the bad element out of play if we screen it properly.
And you've got that, and we are giving you asked for the moon, we're giving you the clouds maybe, I don't know, but I'm not willing to go to the moon with this parking lot.
Just, it's your guys' call. You know, if we come up here and ask for 4 things and get 3 out of 4, I'd say we did pretty good.
I say you did too.
Mr. Cutler, on the, what is the total frontage? I'm not even worried about the south side. What is the frontage we're dealing in? Roughly.
100 feet, maybe?
So would there be a thought in maybe curbing the front of it, since that's?
All or none.
Big five. I'm talking about staying with the ordinance.
I'm just the chairman, so.
I have another question, I guess probably related to
Go
the
ahead.
parking lot. You have there's some trucks parked out there in the grassy area of that, and I don't know if those trucks are for his construction business or what they're there for, but I guess it is clear that this is a professional office for commercial use and not a contract type office where his equipment might be.
That's correct.
That is understood. Okay.
I believe those are for sale if you be willing to, if you want to get them off of there, he's probably willing to talk to you.
That asphalt equipment's pretty rough looking. He keeps that behind the fence, or hopefully just moving from job to job, so it never has to go over there.
All right, I need a motion or on something.
We have a motion and a second. How about a vote?
What was the motion?
I don't know.
The motion is to
Just-
approve. A yes would pass it. A no.
On
would-
number 3?
On number 3.
We're on number 3?
Yes.
Yes. If we vote no, that means.
Thought you were against number 3. Would you make a motion?
Well, we're back to planning and zoning rules. We do motion to approve on everything, and you vote for or against.
Gotcha.
Man, you guys, I tell you what, we're going to have to get you off one eye.
It's a lot simpler.
You'd keep about 14 and a half of us confused all the
Listen,
time.
our meetings last about 20 minutes, and y'all
Okay.
can talk
Oh,
for
okay.
2 hours.
We
so
going
if
for
that'll help
hours.
you.
I thought he was going to pass them on when we walked in here. So
Okay,
it'd been-
so now he's going to vote against his own motion.
Okay.
I am, exactly.
That's unique, okay.
All right. So we have a motion to pass number 3. Mr. Connor, a second, was he? Who gave me the second?
Second. Sure.
Yes, we got a second from Mr. Landry. That is to pass number 3 as is. Now we need a roll call vote.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Landry,
No.
Mr. Porsche,
No.
and Mr. Connor.
No.
2 for and 3 against.
Motion fails. So our motion fails. Now, Ms. Wallace, so that he's got to do curb and gutter. That's basically the way it goes.
The
Now, he can
concrete
still
curb.
do the concrete curb with the asphalt inside of it.
Right. It's just the concrete curbs that we require.
All right. Mr. Cutler, you got any other questions on that?
No, sir.
All right. Any other questions from the review team? Take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. We're adjourned.